Welcome everybody to the new start of my stories behind the headlines. Had been a bit quiet for the last few weeks simply because we had some technical difficulties and then I had some personal issues, and therefore I thought maybe best to leave it for a while. I'm back again and hopefully going to be continuing in this mode, which is the first one, right? In the sense that you have the classroom plus the house broadcast. Okay, so my agenda for today, of course, is going to be this. We're going to be talking about a savior who finally is arriving on the scene at a very critical moment. I know the savior is very taken in a sort of a religious sense, but in this sense, I mean it in terms of having to save the planet, which means all the animals, the trees, the humankind, the whole lot. Now, why do I say that finally we have had one? Because what we have had in the past is a lot of talk, a lot of ideas. And I'll mention as we go along on this sort of agenda that I shall be covering. So here's my take to begin with. The context is, if you like, the climate issue, which the COP26 is taking place in Glasgow from today for the next 2 weeks. Now, this is one of those gatherings which is vitally important for the planet. But the problem with this gathering is, of course, they're politicians and people who are able to talk very glibly and say, yeah, we are going to do all we can to save the world. Now, if you go back to the COP26, the Paris Agreement, 2015, there were pledges done, and USA was there at that time. The pledges were that they would keep the rise of temperature to 1.5 degrees. But in actual fact, the pledge was, if it was implemented, it would raise the temperature to 2.6 or 7. So it would not meet the target even at that time. So what we have at this COP26 this time around is to be able to sort of deliver on that promises. Now, the big polluters are, of course, USA, China, India, and they say Russia, but European Union is there. So what we have is really a very, very critical moment in history. If people are going to be able to make the decision to abide by their pledges, then I think there is some little hope for the world. Now, just to recall, some years back in the 80s, we had a problem with the ozone, you remember? There was a big ozone layer being created. But the world got together and they decided to ban CFCs, that's the chlorofluorocarbons, you know, the things that you have in fridges and hairsprays and all that. And they did, and they banned them. And therefore, what we have now is the hole that was appearing on the ozone is contracting now. So by 2050 or 60, they say, we might get back to the normal. Now, why is the ozone layer important? Just to refresh our mind, it blocks the ultraviolet rays coming through, and that's damaging for life. And believe it or not, the layer is only 2 millimeters thick. And yet it gives the whole world the protection. And of course, the world came together and did something. But this time now, it's also a very similar type of issue, but a lot more difficult to deliver. It's not just a banning of a few sort of chemicals and so on, but they have to try and decarbonize. And decarbonization means that we have to be able to change our habits. And this change is what Elon Musk is going to be giving us. Here we are. He's now become the richest man in the world because of his vision. His vision has a lot of, if you like, sub-visions with it. But the main vision is he wants to save humanity and the planet and make us into a multi-planetary species. So look at the level that he's actually sort of thinking about.
Since I've been here.
And that's why I say he's a savior, because not only he has a vision, but he's able to.
Oh, certainly not been done every day.
Sorry, somebody is there, so I'm going to sort of have to mute you, I think, because I'm hearing some, mute all there. Okay, carry on now. So delivery is the issue. And when you're talking about delivery, we're not talking about maybe doing a small thing. It's for the whole world. And what is he going to be doing? He's going to be able to try and deliver on the sustainable energy for the world, which means the type of energy which is not going to carbonize the world or cause it warming. So if he succeeds in that, which I'm sure he's going to, we have a real sort of solution. And apart from that, he's got other plans, which we'll talk as we go along. But sticking to this vision of sustainable energy and saving the species on the Earth has to do with really acceptance of technology by the world in order to be able to, because the technology is delivering the solution. And what we need to do is for people to be able to buy into it. Now, that sustainable energy is coming about through what? The sun. Sun is our ultimate sort of source of energy, and we can trap these sort of through solar cells and be able to store it in batteries. Now, that's what he's doing. Now, where does that energy get used? The energy gets used everywhere that we can look at. And the main three areas that I would like to highlight is, of course, in transport, in homes, and in industry. Now, you could say that each one of them are equally divided. 30% of probably all pollution comes about for each one of those sectors. And he's able to deliver solutions for each one of them. Now, on transport, what is he doing? He's coming out with a Tesla car, and he's got all varieties, and they are being made at such a fast pace that the mind boggles. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. He's going to be able to also do something for homes, which is the battery sort of supply from solar panels from the roof. And for the grid is also means a lot of banks of batteries which can store these solar energy or wind or whatever and keep it for ultimate use. So already that's being used by certain sort of cities in the world. So you can see he's tackling it on all three fronts. Now, who are the people who are blocking this? Well, one is politicians, because they've got their own personal agendas, which is a real big shame. Then you've got the lobbies, which are like oil, and the automobile industry. Because automobile industry has not woken up, has been sleeping over the last decades and not gone into electric vehicles. It's only when Elon Musk came about and started to sort of do his bit, then they all started to wake up and say, oh my God, we are going to become extinct if we don't do something. But already it's a bit too late for many of them. So here I would call them the other sort of the action they are taking, rather than sort of saying, yeah, let's follow Elon Musk and do something similar and so on. No, they're trying to block him. That's why I call them the new Luddites. The Luddites were the people like here, when the textile mills and all that in the UK took away the jobs, the workers came in and destroyed the machines, the looms and what have you. We have modern day Luddites as well, who are against technology and who are in fact blocking the solutions that are there. And we can see that already in the case of Tesla cars. And what Tesla has done in USA is incredible. They have in fact produced 2 factories which are churning out over 1 million cars already. Will start to this year, I think they've produced nearly 1 million. Next year will be 2 million, and subsequent years will be 4 or 5 million per year. Now, none of the auto companies are able to match that type of production. So what they're doing is they're going to the president, Luddite in some ways, Biden, with the union, because unions have been supporting contributions, and they are saying we are going to need government help. So he says, yeah, I'll give government help. And he's giving a big handouts for each vehicle. There's going to be $12,000, government subsidy. But no mention of Tesla. He wasn't even invited to the White House. The GM, the Fords, and all the others were invited, along with the unions. But not even one word on Tesla, because Tesla, what they have done is they have shown up the whole administration as being sleeping. Sleepy Joe is a good sort of acronym for him or name. So he's a Luddite, and those people, the unions are Luddites. And in Germany, you have what we call the Giga Berlin. Factory is ready, but final permission is not being given because they've been blocked by the environmental groups. And who are the backers of these environmental groups? Big auto companies. Mercedes, the whole lot. And what they fear is that they're going to lose their businesses. This is the real threat, because these cars are coming out. See, the Giga Berlin will produce 2 million cars a year. And with other factories, I think, it's going to sort of really take over the market. Yeah, so we have, I think, a real sort of, these are the Luddites. You see, even when the wheel came about, there were people protesting. We don't want the wheel. So that's the extent of what we have as our modern day Luddites as well. So here we are. Now, something special. Why do we put our trust in Tesla and Elon Musk? Because we are seeing his delivery. You see? Now, a lot of people just stand on the pulpit and talk, and they go home and they have their coffee and they snooze. But Tesla, he's sort of, he was at the verge of bankruptcy, but yet he persisted. And he has become now one of those people that is the richest man in the world. So Tesla is not just an auto company, will be the leader in AI and robotics as well. Now, what he has done with the car is he's made it, if you like, intelligent enough to be aware of its environment so that it can drive itself. Not every car without, you see, it's got a software called FSD, full self-driving software. It's at the version 10, and the beta testing is going on. But the beauty of this type of arrangement is that each car feeds back into the computer about its experience of driving a route. So it's capturing billions and billions amounts of data and being able to analyze it and train the computer so that it does a better type of job. So it is an incredible type of feat. And none of the other companies have anything close to that. And with Tesla coming in such a big way, each car is giving input. You see? So that is just one area where robotics and AI are sort of really big. So how big will Tesla grow? Now, if anybody has been following Tesla, it has gone from nothing practically to the level now of $1,100 after a split of 5-to-1. So which means in the old way, it's gone up to $5,000 a share. So it is going places, and it hasn't stopped, because people ask, which is the next Tesla? People know the stock market. And the answer is, Tesla is the next Tesla, which means there's so much more that is coming from it that there's no way of even bringing in anybody else. So why are we trusting? Because it's got this artificial general intelligence, and it's got this capability all in-house. It's not dependent on other companies. When there was chip shortage in the world, you remember, and every car maker says, well, our production has gone down, sales have gone down because we can't make because of shortage. What Tesla did was, although Tesla uses more chips than the auto industry, they redesigned the software in such a way that they could use without being affected. So you can see here how innovative they are. Okay, here they are also very efficient. So also the production in the factory, Giga Berlin and Fremont and Shanghai, they are having production levels which are enormously fast and fine-tuned to the point that they produce, I think, a car every 45 seconds, you know, and that's something that I don't think anybody has able to match or will be able to match unless they do what Tesla is doing. So the present, I see ICE cars as the internal combustion engine. They're the ones that burn fossil fuels. See, they're heading towards extinctions. And who are these companies? Here we are. You know, you've got this Volkswagen, Tesla, sorry, all these other ones, you know, the big names here. Toyota and Hyundai and GM, so on. They are nowhere near, although they are saying we've got a car coming out in another couple of years. That car is 5 years behind, as it were, in technology. So they are just doing it for name's sake. So EV really, now where is Tesla in terms of its sales? Yeah, this is the type of sales that they're making. Tesla is January, December, that's 1 month sales. So you can see this is a type of extent compared to all that, all put together, they don't match. So here's Giga Berlin, which is waiting for the final approval. And what is the argument of the environmental group in Grüne, where the factory is, which is near Berlin? They say that the lizards in the forest are being affected. So, I mean, such silly arguments being put up when production of a car is going to be saving the whole world and also lives on the road, because this car is safer than the ICE car because of the technology and because of the intelligence built into it. Now you can see also the production capacity is so big that 19 factories of Audi, if they combine together, they still can't match one factory of Giga Berlin, which Tesla's putting up, and they're blocking it at the moment. See, they've got no other answer. In fact, I would say that when Biden came in, he was asked how is he going to deal with China, and there was a big report from the think tanks, and the report said there's no way you can tackle China except to demonize their leadership, and that's what they're doing. And then there was another thing on innovation, because USA is a leader in innovation. And they said, what's going to happen to that? Because if the technological sort of lead is affected, then of course the economy is going to suffer. Schmidt, who was the head of Google at one time, he was asked to produce this report, and he got 200 people, big companies. And they produced a report which said, we are not spending on R&D as much as we should. And the time they got to approval, it was totally low, not the type of funds that is required. So manpower is lacking because Trump blocked a lot of immigration and then no funding for R&D, except he went in for a trade war, which is completely and utter wrong policies. So yeah, this is saying basically the chip technology, when everybody was having shortage of chips. Tesla is also making full self-driving chips. Now that one of the best and fastest chips in the world, the big new chip, the DL1 for the Dojo computer. Now, Dojo computer is the fastest computer which they have developed themselves. Now, that's something to think about. When you think about all these big computer companies, this, that, or the other, here is a company, virtually new in the game. They're doing the products which are superior to the old companies. So you can see what a big difference it makes if you have a vision which is the right vision.
Does it use a microprocessor chip? It doesn't use a microprocessor chip.
They do. They have their own. And you see the chips.
They make their own.
Yeah, they've got their own, they designed their own and they've got them, which they're able to. Also, you see, they have been had enough foresight to have a lot of orders, and the orders will be given to them. So they think ahead, and therefore they're able to see whatever shortages they had, they managed to sort of get around it by doing a little bit of ingenious software design of the of what the chip can do and what it can't. So here is also these autonomous cars, which I mentioned, full self-driving cars. Recently, what has happened is that Hertz put an order for 100,000. Now, 100,000 by Hertz, which is a really company which is at a loss, who's got a CEO from GM or Ford, who's come in and said, look, this EV is so far ahead. What we want to be able to do is to attract people, and people are going to be attracted for a better service. The cars are, better in terms of running costs and maintenance, whichever way you look at it. And what they're thinking is that not only are they going to get 100,000 at market price with no discounts at all, they were going to be ordering 150,000 more because 50,000 they want to give to Uber drivers. And Uber drivers will pay them $300 and they will make their own money. So you can see, and each car is giving input into this Dojo computer, which is going to be phenomenal. So FSD uses AI by solving big real visions through Dojo. So that's a learning computer. So you can see Tesla is a disruptor of the old ways to the new ways. Tesla already shown us they can execute and become the leader in a business which they are new, making cars. See, there was no Tesla 20 years ago. But in the last 18 years, they've struggled and managed to make something, and they're beating people at the old game. See, they're outperforming the leaders of the industry. And they were like not being the old, so they are in fact, doing something which is highly unusual. Now, how are they doing it? It's not just a vision that matters. What you need is people as well. So when they had the last meeting, I looked at that 4.5-hour meeting I think they had, they showed their plans as to what they're going to do. And they showed how far ahead in technology they are. And they said, we want to recruit people. And the number of people that have applied is 100-fold, so they're getting the best brains to come and work for them. So here we have, you see here, Tesla AI team did an increase, not 10-fold, but 100-fold. So you're getting the best brains, you have the good vision, the best brains, and you're delivering the product. So SpaceX is, of course, the other project of Elon Musk. Already in 2 places, new engineers are coming. They want to work for these 2 companies because they want to work for these humanoid robots, and they go, Mars is another program that they have. I've talked about it before in my other talks. Okay, how big will Tesla grow? Well, I showed you 100 times. Now it's $1 trillion market capitalization now. No other company in history has managed to become $1 trillion company within 20 years. Even Apple and all the other ones who are trillion plus, they have been there around for a while. So Tesla is really sort of pushing the envelope everywhere. And of course, $1 trillion is today. And the market price of the share is $1,100. It went up $300 in the last just few weeks. Yeah, because of the Hertz and because of, but this gigabit comes, but the approval gets, there'll be another spurt. And when Texas becomes production, another spurt. They're going to start production, I think, in the next few months. So anybody who's interested in Tesla should follow them and see how good and fast that they're producing their stuff. Okay, now how big is the AI industry going to be in the future? Well, it says it's going to be $30 trillion. The total global economy is about 80 trillion. So if AI is going to be this big, it's going to take a big chunk of the economy. And Tesla is right there, because it's got the gadgets that it's going to be using. Now, what's it produce? It's also going to produce a Tesla bot. This is an AI robot with having artificial general intelligence. Now, AI, if just to go back a little bit, a robot is just a mechanical thing. When you put AI into it, it becomes a bit more intelligent on a specific area. Like one of the big areas that the deep mind of Google was when they got the computer to beat the Go master, the game Go, the computer, I think it was called AlphaGo, it beat the grandmaster. And now AlphaZero, which is an upgrade of that, is beating even AlphaGo. So you've got a type of algorithms that are teaching the computers and the robots how to play. And AGI is artificial general intelligence, which means that it's akin to a bit of human learning, how humans learn, see? And that they're building as well. Now, one of the good things about Volkswagen, which is the biggest, as we saw earlier on, the biggest sort of what I would call the largest the car maker in the world, they are coming to Tesla and say, help us. They had a meeting of 200 engineers or the managers, and they invited Elon Musk on video to come and address them, basically to tell them, look, this is what you need to think about. So, but the others haven't done that, especially Ford, GM, and all that. They keep it well away because they are in the grip of unions. And what is happening is they're fearful that half their workforce will be lost in the next 2-3 years, and the remainder in the next few years. So unless they wake up, they're going to have a real big problem. So they are now the most efficient car manufacturer on the planet. And now if a third of that energy used by the world is going to be provided cleanly, then we are going to meet some of the targets that COP26 is going to do. No help. The only help that I think that's coming from the government is this tax credit that USA is giving of 12,000 for its people to encourage buying them. But no other country is doing that. Maybe EU is starting to do a little bit of that. So the governments can do that, which is good. And people are already sold on the idea of buying electric cars. So a third of the problem of the world's carbonization can be tackled this way. And the other one is through battery. So we'll see that as well happening as we go along. Now, this is just Volkswagen, asking for help. Now their production, gigapresses. Now, one of the things that Tesla does is that doesn't follow. You see, the old cars, they have supply chain stretching for hundreds of components and countries and factories or whatever. Tesla has very, very small supply chain. And on top of that, it's making presses which create half the body. One blank sheet of metal comes, presses, and out comes half the shape of a car type of thing, in metal. So they've got this huge type of advantage. See here, this is just showing us all the automation that is involved in making these cars. This is just basically saying 19 factories of Audi is equivalent to 1 gigaberlin output. This is the battery being produced. This is really something you can look at your own, but this is the last meeting that they had, which tells you what sort of increase. If you look at the red figures over here, this is the improvement in range as far as the battery is concerned. This is the battery sort of densities and investment per production. So you can see they're all pluses. So they're going about it in a very planned way, and that instills a lot of confidence in everybody. Improvement in battery, this is 5 times the improvement and all that. So just a few figures there. Basically, the factories are going to be producing, and because of the efficiency, they don't have to be huge, they can be smaller. but nevertheless, they are huge. Here is the picture of Giga Berlin. I think it's 1 kilometer from one to another, or even 2 kilometers, I think, and 1 kilometer across. It's a huge thing there. And this is Texas. Texas is also going to come online maybe later on this year. This is also as big. Here, I think there's a picture of that becoming huge. It's about half a mile, I think, long. This is where the batteries are produced in Nevada. Now, you can see with these factories producing the right type of stuff in a most efficient fashion is giving them a lead over other automakers in such a way that we can say, yeah, Tesla is doing what we need to think. And there's a factory in Shanghai. They produce 500,000 cars a year, and they're sending them to Europe because Germany, I think, is blocked by these car makers, by the Luddites. Well, we are going to be having maybe our own gigafactory. I think our business secretary, he's desperate to talk to Elon Musk to bring a factory in here. We'll see whether he succeeds. Now, one other thing that Tesla is doing is that they're going in for smartphone. Now, why a smartphone for a car company? Well, I mean, the answer is quite simple. Tesla and Elon Musk have a global internet system called Starlink. I've talked about it. If you don't know about it, you can go to my archive and you can see I've talked about that, Starlink. It's a global internet, which means if you have a phone, you're going to be connected globally. You don't need to have a SIM card or what have you to go through or connect it to a modem here, directly connecting. So he's coming up with something quite revolutionary. So that's going to be happening soon. It's called Model Pi. Yeah, it's going to be able to sort of have the connectivity which anybody in the world you can connect to. Even if you're sitting in the middle of Congo, you'll be able to connect through Starlink, through this phone. No, not the car. With the phone, Starlink, and you can still have access. And Google is now in partnership with Starlink to be able to have all their iCloud services being piped through the Starlink. So what other things can the phone do? It can connect with our brain. Think about it. We're going to have a chip. It's going to control the cars, make it drive. And this is the sort of, and it can mine Bitcoins. So, I've talked about mining of Bitcoins in one of my earlier talks. Self-driving, it can do self-driving as well. So these are the sort of products which are, mind-boggling, and he's creating them and bringing them out. And I think we need to be able to sort of support this idea in as good a way as we can. So I'm going to stop the share now and go for a Q&A. Okay, folks, you can see you here. Gallery view. Okay, sorry, it seemed a bit rushed. Ruth, you will have to undo your audio.
May I ask, why do you think humanoid robots will be able to colonize Mars? I mean, why make them humanoid?
Well, the thing about humanoid is that initially, well, there are so many purposes. When the humanoid, the Tesla bot was announced about a few months ago, Elon Musk said that it is going to be able to do work which is going to be dangerous, repetitive, and boring, so as to eliminate that type of work away from human beings and keep the human beings safe. So if we have these bots, or Tesla bot, or humanoid robots, they can in fact do the work that produces wealth for society. Now, if you just think of what technologies has delivered to society, we can see with all the gadgets that we have a lot of productivity increases. Now, these humanoids, they can be built by a factory, 10,000 of them maybe in 2 months, and put into a factory and they can produce. So the wealth can be produced enormously with not having to pay them a pension or medical or what have you. So it frees the human beings from tedious work. So the tedious work is taken over by the humanoids. And also for space work, if they have to go, say, mining stuff in Mars or on the moon, you can put these robots to work and they'll be able to mine it and bring whatever necessary things we want. So they will be in the service of human beings. Okay, Ruth, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I unfortunately I came on late. I apologize, but as I came on, you were talking about the Luddites in relation to Tesla and saying that people. I didn't quite get the reference.
Okay, Luddites were people who broke up these looms in the industrial age when the textile mills were taking the jobs away by introducing these machines. So the workers came and broke these machines and they were called Luddites. And we have modern day Luddites because they're stopping, things happening like take Giga Berlin factory, which is ready to go, but they're not giving the permission, being blocked by the environmentalists, saying the lizards are being endangered and so on and so forth.
Who is doing the blocking?
Well, the environmental group, which is being backed actually by the automobile industry and by the oil industry. See, it's the old game that is being played. So lizards have become all of a sudden more important than saving the planet and saving human life because these cars are safer. So really, I think we have
the environmental is being backed by the car industry,
the auto and the unions and the auto industry and the oil industry and President Biden.
Wow.
Although he's given some allowances to the people who subscribe to his Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Yet he has not mentioned Tesla at all at the White House meeting. Totally ignored Tesla.
Yes, I just have a query.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm wondering whether, in your view, you think Musk has built into this, this huge expansion, factored into this huge expansion, producing cars that are easily affordable by people who don't have, sort of 35 or 40,000 to lay out. I mean, currently his product is very desirable indeed, but it's also beyond the reach, shall we say, of many people who would make the switch in an instant if it were affordable. Yeah. Even though there is a charging issue still in lots of countries, including ours, but we'd make the switch if it were genuinely affordable. Do you see, or does he see, or is there some word on the horizon that this is going to happen in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, see, what is happening is that his policy has been very shrewd. He started off building very expensive cars because he says my production numbers are going to be low and only the rich can be afforded to buy the cars. So he produced excellent cars. Then he started to go for the middle class, which is where he is right now. Now for the next class, which is much more affordable, Tesla, which is $25,000, he's got it in the making. So that's going to be happening as well. So in terms of individual transport, that's one thing. The other thing is he's going in for, auto driving, which means auto taxis, which means that the cars drive themselves and you don't have to buy your own car. You just, call it and you hop on it like an Uber, and then it drops you wherever and then carries on. In addition to that, they're also building buses which can pick up people. The mileage cost is very, very low. So it's very affordable. So that tackling all sectors of the society as well.
What's going to happen to all the human beings who are no longer needed?
Yeah, well, this is the question which, you know, at the industrial age, when the agricultural sort of age was terminating, they asked, they said, what is going to happen to the horses who were pulling the carts and plowing the fields and so on? Soon the people got jobs in the factories, you know, instead of the fields. So in the same way, we are going to have jobs which people will be much better at doing than they are currently doing. So the wealth will be created. So the governments will have to bring in something like UBI, Universal Basic Income. So we can have the wealth that these robots produce and be able to do creative work, which we like, and find meaning in our life as well. You know? So you have a choice.
Hmm.
So that's a
The other
big
thing I
question.
was wondering is, talking about, you know, this, I mean, literally it's exploding on all fronts in terms of leaping ahead technologically. And this is certainly true of AI, which is, again, it's very seductive when you consider that, you know, the speed and the efficiency and the fact that it will replace, you know, all of this tedious, repetitive assembly line work with robots. But I'm just wondering, I mean, I put this to you not as a subject for today, but for the future. Where and how is the regulatory process going to begin on this AI explosion, just to maintain and make sure that we humans can keep control of something that we have? I mean, it really is a genie in a bottle come out, isn't it now?
Yeah. You see, one of the fundamental questions that science is struggling with is on something called consciousness. The difference between a robot, an intelligent AI robot as well, and a human being is consciousness. Now, a robot without a conscience is just a machine, if you like, very efficient, you know, does everything very fast, probably more thousands times more intelligent than a human being. But the consciousness is there. He doesn't know that he exists. So scientists are working on this, and hopefully, if they can bring in regulation that will make robots have controlled consciousness and not become, not become dystopic or murderous or what have you. So Elon Musk is actually funding a fair amount of research on this, and a lot of universities are also working as to what sort of regulation needs to be brought in order to sort of control AI. You see, the first use of AI at the moment, as usual, is where the money is. You know, the defense industry, they start to sort of offer products based on AI so as to go and kill, you know, human beings more efficiently day by day. So we have to be able to control that. And because the big lobby and the military industrial complex is so strong, they are going to buck that trend. So this control of AI is going to be a very big sort of problem we have to face.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Giselle, I haven't seen you for a while.
No, I haven't. It's good to see you again. I was wondering, Shafiq, that it just so happens yesterday I was in one of these new Amazon grocery shops where there's no one, there's almost no staff at all. So again, it's people's jobs are going out the window. So it was amazing. You just pick something up off the shelf, and because of the weight of it, you put it in your basket. It's everything is done. There's no staff in the shop. There's 2 security guards and 1 person at the till when you pay. That's it. But again, I was just thinking what you're saying as well, and with AI, is that I'm feeling that there's going to be even a bigger divide between rich and poor, because what jobs will there be for the blue collar workers? It's just, you know, with AI coming in and all of these robots, and there's not going to be any work for people who are fairly unskilled, and it's going to make it even worse economically for those who are not well educated.
Yeah.
Or without
Well, I
jobs.
would look at it this way, that because the rich and poor issue is mostly a political issue, not so much, and technology tries to make it better. And one way that is doing it better is, if you look at Starlink, and we talked about it, half the world doesn't have internet. And with Starlink, that half will have internet, which means they will be able to access education and everything that we are able to access. So they will have a big advantage in improving their own sort of environment, their lives, and so on. So in that sense, there's going to be a big sort of move towards bettering, you know, half the world's lives. Now, there might be some little inequalities in modern sort of societies, but that is because of the political ideologies that are being followed. It's not the fault of technology. I think it's the choices that politicians give us. Like right now, Brexit was such a bad choice. And it was the politicians who did the talking and got us into that mess. So we have that type of leadership. You know, we've got leadership which is so wanting. And that's why we need to have geniuses and people like vision, like Elon Musk, who can at least deliver solutions and not have clowns and Trumps and what have you leading the world. Yeah, Ruth.
Yeah, but having increased
Your video is off, Ruth. Ruth, your video
access to access to computers is not going to help people in finding jobs.
well,
These jobs are being erased.
Well, one of the things is that if you are educated, you are able to exercise your freedom in making products which are then going to be useful, because that's how society develops. You know, the society develops products, makes products. In the agricultural age, they dug the fields and they planted and they ate the food. Now they'll be able to produce stuff, because of whatever the products may be, through software, and be making a living. Because right now, people living in in remote parts of country are able to do translations, for instance. So all that type of work will start to come about. So the more education there is, the more products can be produced and money could be made. And the manual work can be done mostly by the robots. Yeah?
Yes, I kind of agree with Giselle, though, that obviously none of us are going to be here to see this or have to worry about this enormous transition coming for humanity. But that, you know, there is going to be a time of enormous conflict where tens of millions of people are going to be enforcedly idle most of their working lives, if as we would call it, and that is going to lead to enormous difficulties socially, ethically, in all kinds of ways.
Yeah, I think the transition has got to be made in an intelligent way. You see, right now the world has enough food, but there's still people hungry. That's because political inefficiencies and distribution issues that are there. So technology is there to deliver solutions. And intelligent use of technology is what we should be on the lookout for, and try to be creative and use it creatively. Yes, Ruth?
Yeah, I can visualize a future where the political power will be in the hands of business people like Tesla, and we'll have that'll be really difficult to deal with, because they'll have the power, the money, and that is a real problem. That
Yeah, that's why I think a bit of regulation is required, because if you look at regulation of various countries, the G20 meeting that took place just a couple of days ago, they've tried to impose now a minimum tax that needs to be paid by corporate world. The corporate world has been putting money into tax shelters and so on, and therefore taking away the wealth from the people. So regulation is what we need to sort of focus on.
Yes, yeah.
And in order to get good regulation, we need to have a good leadership. And unfortunately, that's not so easy.
All say aye to that.
Yeah. Yes, Pamela.
Yeah, my concern is, Elon Musk is there and he's doing all this stuff, but going forward, does he have a successor? What will happen? I mean,
Yeah, well, he made a comment about that. He said, "Look, I'm afraid of one thing." He says, "After me, who is there going to be?"
that's it.
I mean, he is an individual, I think, from the future, if you ask me. Huh? Yeah, there will be. Yeah. Yeah. No, he has shown us the way, and there'll be other people who will be carrying the thing forward. Yeah. 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 But such a person comes once in a lifetime, I think, and he makes the difference. Yeah.
Let's just hope his successor has integrity.
Well, otherwise we have these James Bond type of characters, who want to rule the world and that type of thing. Well, we've been through that route on the fiction level, but on the reality level, I think here is a genuine person who wants to make the change. And I, for one, I'm very happy at the fact that he's come at the right time, because just with no solution and with warming taking place to 2.5 and more, that's really going to kill off, half the species in the world. Well, the thing about, but sun, you see, the sun is the provider of energy, and these solar panels and the batteries store it, and then you can use the power in the battery to mine as well. You see? No, but this is what the battery technology is giving. Yeah. 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 Well, there you are. It's a vision that matters, and the person behind that vision. Yeah. He came from South Africa, quite a unique. Yeah. Well, I, for one, I'm very happy that he's there, and we've got crucial big issues facing the world, and he's delivering those solutions. And I'm backing, so I bought a few shares of Tesla as well. Well, no, I back his vision. I back his vision. I back his vision because I could have bought any other share, Even Amazon, I hate Amazon because I could have made money if I had bought it. I hate them, although they're good at deliveries and so on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, I think our time is up, and thank you all for the contributions, and we'll continue this next week on different subjects. But now the technology is working. I'm happy. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll put this clip up on YouTube.
Thank you.